What makes a screenwriter or director follow their dreams in the first place? That's what I want to find out in one scene. I want to know the movie moments that inspired artists who later found success themselves, and I want to see what I can learn from them. I'm a newer professional screenwriter. On each episode, I'm joined by a subscriber who's an aspiring writer or filmmaker because I want their perspective too. We are about to discover some things that are going to seriously level up our craft, so let's get into it. Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick heads up that this is the first one of these that I filmed, so I hadn't quite figured out what the podcast wanted to be yet, so I had us reading through the entire scene in one shot rather than the way that I'm doing it now. And then we also had some Wi-Fi issues on top of it. However, if you can get through all of those little hiccups, this is a really cool episode. Rae and Leah are awesome. They're great writers, very cool people, and we had a really interesting discussion on not only Memento, but also the craft and the business of screenwriting. We are here with Rae Benjamin and Leah Simmons, and I am so excited for this conversation today. Rae has been a professional writer for a number of years now. She was an assistant on Bridgerton and then wrote on the massive hit series The Witcher. She was the co-writer and co-EP on the recent animated Witcher movie Sirens of the Deep. And beyond that, she's also the CEO and founder of In the Cut, which provides vital industry information to up-and-coming writers and filmmakers. And the way that I found out about Rae was through the In the Cut podcast, which actually dives into individual episodes of television. And I've been listening to a lot of that lately while painting the outside of my house. So that's been really nice to keep me company. And I'm pumped to actually connect. And then we've got Leah Simmons with us, who is an up-and-coming screenwriter who wrote and produced Valentine Crush, which is an indie horror set in the roller derby world. I believe you funded that through Kickstarter too, right?
Yep.
That's awesome. And Leah has also had a page of hers featured on season 1, episode 5 of Spot the Pro, in which everybody, including actor Tom Jane, picked her page as the professional. So she is definitely one to watch. So, Rae, you picked a scene from Memento to talk about today as something that inspired you and influenced you as a writer. Can you tell us about the first time you saw that movie?
Yeah, I was actually in ninth grade, I believe, the
That's
first
awesome.
time I saw that movie. And I went to an art school for creative writing, actually. So we'd
That's cool.
have very weird, non-traditional classes, I would say. So one of the classes that I took at my art school was called, I think it was called From Page to Screen. And it was basically a class where we read the original source material, book, short stories, and then we watched the film version of it
That's
to
awesome.
compare, yeah, to compare and contrast what went on in the book versus what ended up in the movie. So this Memento is actually based on a short story by Jonathan Nolan. So we'd read the short story, we didn't read the script, we read the short story, and then we watched the movie. In that class, we'd also watch Blade Runner and read the book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? It was a really cool
That's
class. I think
awesome.
we read One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest too. So to be like in ninth grade reading this stuff and watching these films, it was a really great education. And Memento, I just remember my mind was blown because I'd never seen anything like that. The stories told in, reverse chronological order. And to me, that was just like the most daring thing I'd ever seen in my young mind. And it just
That
stood,
was wild when it
yeah.
came out.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I want to do this. I had never seen anything so creative. And I remember the first script I wrote, it was years later. I was in college by that point, but the first script I wrote was definitely just like a Memento knockoff that was not as good.
That's
But
awesome. But
yeah.
that's how we start, right? Like we get inspired by things and then we kind of want to recreate that feeling that we just had. Oh no, we just lost
Oh
Leah
no.
again. All right, well that's okay. We'll bring her back in. Leah is on some spotty hotel Wi-Fi right now, so we'll bring her back in whenever she's able to. Um, but it's really funny that you mentioned the short story because I I had completely lost sight of the fact that it was a short story of Jonathan Nolan's, and I didn't even realize it really until I was kind of prepping for this and rewatching the movie and checking out the script. And the screenplay draft that I have actually has the short story at the end of it. So I'm going to link to that in the description of this video so that people can check that out too if they want to, because it's pretty cool that the source material is right there. And then
Yeah.
obviously Chris and Jonathan have gone on to work together a whole lot beyond that, which is amazing. And truly like two of the most influential voices in movies in the last couple decades.
Yeah, for sure. That's what made me a Nolan fan in my young age was watching Memento for sure. That was the first work of his I'd seen.
So did you write that screenplay that was kind of inspired by that in your like during those high school years, or was that later on?
No. So yeah, in the class, like I said, we weren't reading scripts, we were reading just the source material. So it didn't really spark any screenwriting aspirations, I would say. It's funny. Like people ask me how I wanted to become a writer. I honestly didn't realize that was a job. I watch TV and I watch
It's so
movies,
funny.
but you don't really think someone is writing this. I don't know what I thought. Maybe I thought the actors were just making it up, but it's not something I realized was a real job, I
I
would
feel
think.
like that happens to so many of us. Like I remember like in probably like kind of early high school years or something like that, and somebody talking about how The Simpsons had really good writers. And I was like, I definitely was like, yeah, yeah, they totally do. But like in my mind, I'm like, what? Like there are people writing this stuff, right? And like it just kind of completely blew my mind and opened it to like, oh wow, that's something that people do for a job. That's crazy.
Yes, I exactly had that same revelation. I don't think I realized till probably I was in college that that was a job. And I majored in political science in college. Actually, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be an entertainment lawyer. So I had an internship at Fox, and it was like the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. And the only time I had fun is when I had to go down to the lot and deliver what sometimes I had to deliver scripts, contracts, whatever. And then that's what sparked in my mind, like, oh, like there's a script. There's someone that writes these things. I think that's what I'm interested in, not being a lawyer. And so I took a screenwriting elective in the next semester, and that's when I made my Memento knockoff. It wasn't
That's
told in
awesome.
reverse chronological order because I thought that would have been too obvious, but it was about a man like seeking vengeance on his daughter instead of the wife. But it wasn't very good. I don't even know what happened to
I mean,
it.
I don't show anybody like my first six things that I wrote or something. You know, it's just kind of like it's all practice, and you got to start somewhere. So
Yes, and people don't realize that. I meet so many new writers that wrote one thing and they're like, okay, how do I sell this to Netflix? And I'm like, that's not how it works.
yeah,
If
it's
you wrote one thing, it's probably not very good. Write another thing. That's always my advice to people.
it takes most of us a long time to get there. I mean, I have met a couple writers along the way who like knock it out of the park on like their first or second script, but that's really rare. Like it's just
Very rare.
it doesn't
And
happen
I
much at
think
all.
I've seen that happen, but it was also people who were already good at writing. They just had
Right,
never.
they had something else.
Yeah, yeah. Like I
Like
met a playwright whose first script was incredible, but she wrote plays. Or like if you're writing in another medium at a very high level, I think it's easy to translate. But if you're just starting out writing, it's probably not going to be that good.
yeah, that was like the writer of Challengers, his story. Like he was like a super successful playwright, and like that was his first screenplay, but he had a lot of success in that world elsewhere.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that makes sense.
so you didn't go to film school though, right? Like you said, it was like an elective that you took, and like you didn't have any film connections. Although I think I did hear on your podcast you're an LA native, like an actual
Yes,
person who
yeah,
like
yeah,
actually is from LA, which is always surprising.
yes. I know
But
that's what people say, but like everyone I know is from here because I'm from here.
but you were a graphic designer, right? So like you were still in like creative spaces that entire time. Do you feel like, you know? some of those early classes, like especially like, looking at Memento and things like that and the influence that it had on you, do you think that influenced you creatively in the like other spaces like graphic design or anything else in that time?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. I've never connected it that way, but I do think that being a writer my whole life, like I said, I went to an art school for creative writing in high school. I'd always written since I was a kid. So I always was creative, and I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know really about screenwriting. I thought that to be a writer, you had to write novels. That's sort of what I was trained on as a writer.
Sure.
And I knew I didn't want to write novels. I preferred writing short form content. I wrote short stories. I didn't write long things. So I thought, well, if I don't want to be a novelist, I guess I can't be a writer. So I thought I'd be a lawyer. That was very boring. I knew I had to do something creative. So I became a graphic designer because I'm always interested in art and commerce. I never wanted to be like the starving artist trope. I'm like, how can I be creative
Sure.
but still uh make money and pay my bills? And graphic design is one of those jobs where you can be creative but still have a great career. So that's why
Totally.
I chose it.
And then you had like when you decided you wanted to become a writer, like you kind of quit your full-time graphic design, but you kept doing it freelance, right? In order to
Yeah.
kind of like make space for yourself to write, which is really,
Yeah.
really cool.
That's
So,
exactly. Luckily, being a designer is a skill that you can do freelance. And it's something I still use. Like now that I have my business in the cut, I do all the design for that. And it's funny when I first started, because I'm a designer, like everything looks very professional. Like my
I
website
mean,
looks
what an
very good.
amazing like set of skills and like resources to have.
Yeah.
Like
So
it's
people thought I was much more like robust. Like I had a whole team. I'm like, no, it's just me. I just know how to do this stuff. And
Well, I'm kind of doing that in reverse almost in the sense that so I've been picking up some like real assignment work and things like that to keep the lights on with screenwriting. But kind of in between that, I've been figuring out ways to like just supplement income and make ends meet by picking up freelance like writing work like just for like all sorts of things for like businesses or like LinkedIn videos or YouTube scripts or anything. And it's just kind of like it's nice to realize that you have skills that are marketable and useful elsewhere. And as long as like you can kind of figure out how to put those pieces together, it gives you more opportunities to create streams of income. So,
yeah, especially as a writer, there's so many things you can write. A friend of mine, she's a comedy writer, but she was saying she was writing like some sort of script for an educational video. Like there's so many ways to make money off writing that I don't think people realize. Advertising, being a copywriter, there's so many ways you can make money
totally.
from it.
So we're being flexible here, but Leah's back, which is great. And so what I'm
Fix
gonna
it in
do,
post, right?
what's that? Yeah,
Fix it in post, right?
ish,
Yeah.
like it'll be fine.
Like the sky,
Um,
the clouds are changing outside, all that stuff.
Well, why don't we jump into the scene because and kind of start reading through that. I'll read it out loud, but like pause me, like if there are things that kind of stick out to you that you really want to talk about, or just that are you feel like kind of make that scene special, and we'll just kind of enjoy going through that together. So this is the scene in Memento where basically Natalie and Leonard are at Natalie's house, and Natalie has not yet been or she has no bruises on her face at this point because she hasn't been struck. And at first, we thought that it was Dodd who hit her, but now we're going to find out that she's actually tricking Leonard into hitting her and using his disability against him. So it's a really cool scene, and we're gonna go through it. So, for anybody who wants to check out the screenplay, this is on page 77. So, interior, Natalie's living room day. Leonard is sitting on the coffee table, relaxed, looking at his Polaroids. Natalie, without bruises, bursts in through the front door, scared. Leonard, what's wrong? Natalie, somebody's come already. Who? Calls himself Dodd. What does he want? Wants to know what happened to Jimmy and his money. He thinks I have it. He thinks I took it. Did you? No. What's this all about? Natalie looks at him bitterly. You don't know, do you? You're blissfully ignorant, aren't you? I have this condition. I know you have about your fucking condition, Leonard. I probably know more about it than you do. You don't have a fucking clue about anything else. So like this is that moment where like it kind of really turns in the movie. Like you because like they almost made her like super sympathetic before this point. And then you're like, "Oh, this is a twisted person." And so Leonard's like, "What happened?" What happened is that Jimmy went to meet a guy called Teddy. He took a lot of money with him and he didn't come back. Jimmy's partners think I set him up. I don't know whether you know this, Teddy, or how well. Leonard is getting frustrated. Neither do I. Don't protect him. I'm not. Help me. How? Get rid of Dodd for me. What? Kill him. I'll pay you. What do you think I am? I'm not going to kill someone for money. What then? Love? What would you kill for? For your wife, right? That's different. Not to me. I wasn't fucking married to her. Don't talk about my wife. I can talk about whoever the fuck I want. You won't even remember what I say. I can tell you that your wife was a fucking whore and we can still be friends. Leonard stands up. Calm down. That's easy for you to say. You can't get scared. You don't remember how. You fucking idiot. Just take it easy. This isn't my fault. Maybe it is. How the fuck would you know? You don't know a fucking thing. You can't get scared. Can you get angry? Leonard steps toward her. Yes. You pathetic piece of shit. I can say whatever the fuck I want, and you won't have a clue. You fucking. I'm gonna say R word. Leonard, shut the fuck up. Natalie gets right in his face, grinning. I know I'm gonna use you, you stupid fuck. I'm telling you now because I'll enjoy it more if I know that you could stop me if you weren't a freak. Leonard grabs his Polaroids and finds one of Natalie. He reaches into his pocket for a pen but cannot find one. Lost your pen? That's too bad, freak. Otherwise, you could have written yourself a little note about how Natalie hates your R-word guts. Leonard moves around the room searching for a pen. Natalie follows him, speaking into his ear. No pens here, I'm afraid. You're never going to know that I called you an R word. Your wife's a whore. It's really interesting, like how, like, I mean, honestly, like, I have no problem with somebody using a word like that if it makes sense for the character and the writing, and obviously actors are going to speak that in that sense. But it's interesting, like, how much things have changed since that's come out. Like, you probably
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't see it as much in a screenplay now.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so
I'm
Leonard
trying to
turned.
think.
What's that?
I'm trying to think, like, on my podcast, we watched Veep, which came out after this, but before current time, and they say that in the pilot episode. And
Oh
so I
wow.
was like, and they said Veep is a wild show, and I was like, do you think this show could come out now? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting to look at
I
that
think
stuff.
so. Yeah.
I
I think
mean,
it just depends on the character and like this scene, it's purposefully to goad him, like you know why she's
Yeah.
doing it. And it doesn't I'm really not sensitive
well, yeah,
of
and you're
those
making
things.
you're using that word to show you who she is, right?
Exactly,
Like,
Yeah.
and so I
exactly.
think, the intent makes sense. And so
Yes.
that's the big thing. So Leonard turns to face her, barely controlling his anger. Don't say another fucking word. About your horrible wife? Leonard slaps Natalie. She smiles, then speaks softly. I read about your problem. You know what? One of the causes of short-term memory loss is Leonard fumes, venereal disease. Maybe your cunt of a wife sucked one too many disease cocks and turned you into an R word.
Really leaning into
Yeah, really
it.
just going hard.
Yeah.
Leonard turns away, body tense, ready to snap. Natalie reaches out to gently brush the hair above his ear with her fingers. You sad freak, you won't remember any of what I said, and we'll be best friends or even lovers. Leonard spins around, backhanding Natalie on the cheek. He punches her in the mouth, then pushes her to the floor. He stands over her, furious with himself as much as her. Natalie gets to her feet and goes to the door. She turns to Leonard. Her face is bloody, but she smiles. See you soon. Natalie exits. Leonard watches her walk out to her car and get in. He just sits there. Leonard turns from the window and looks around the room. He grabs at drawers, searching for his pen. He looks back out the window. Natalie is still sitting in her car. Leonard is sifting through papers on the desk when he hears a car door slam. He looks out of the window to see Natalie getting out of her car. She turns to walk around the house. Her face is swollen and bloody. Leonard opens the door for her. What happened? Natalie, intensely agitated, fumbles with things in her purse. What does it look like? And that is the scene. Man, that is such a
So brilliant.
well written scene. Like it just like that the arc it takes you through, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
the whole movie is just like I said when you asked me which scene um did I want to talk about. It's hard to pick because I think all of them are so
Yeah.
brilliant, and because they're
yeah,
told in this reverse order, each scene is sort of like a mini little story that's self-contained because you have to be tracking what's going on. So, but this, I could pick any scene, but this was one of the top ones.
that's great. So like, what's one thing that even after all these years as a professional, like in that scene that still blows your mind or even like makes you jealous and like it's kind of like still like a North Star that you're chasing for?
Yeah, I hadn't watched the movie in a really long time, so rewatching it, I'd forgotten a lot of stuff that had happened
Yeah,
because I hadn't watched it in so long. So what grabs me about this scene is just the character reveal of Natalie and Leonard to a certain extent, because I think Leonard, we trust him from the beginning, but the more you go throughout the movie, you see that he's sort of an unreliable narrator.
totally.
And even though he has a system of taking his notes, which he believes are more factual than memory, because he's writing it down, your memory can change. It shows how he's able to be manipulated by other people. And yeah, I think it just is a brilliant character reveal for both of them. Even Leonard like beating her shows he's kind of like shitty. Like I know she's
Yeah.
Yeah,
goading
yeah,
him
totally.
and harassing her, but he could have just walked away. Like he
Yeah.
didn't have to attack her. And I think it's great foreshadowing for what happens, at the end of the movie. And it's sort of that first inkling that, oh, maybe Leonard is not as trustworthy.
That's a great point because like it really is like this scene is such a turning point in so many ways for the movie because you said unreliable narrator, right? But like as the movie when the movie starts out, like we don't even really know he's unreliable. And then we figure that out pretty quickly as we're like, oh, he got these things wrong. But he's a very empathetic one where we're like, oh, but it's not his fault, like and then like obviously by the end, we learn that it's uncovered that like he's got this darkness to him where it is actually his fault. Like he's willing to do that just for his own sake. And this is kind of that first hint at that where we get like a picture of that darkness inside him, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it makes an interesting contrast too with the first scene where you introduce Natalie and you kind of see like all of the arcs in her character. She's
Right.
sympathetic, she's got an edge to her that's a little scary and also provocative. And I think this is that scene that really cements like, oh, I really know who she is here. Um, yeah, it was such a good movie. I also not seen this for a long time. I think I probably got it on like DVD from Hollywood Video or something after it came out, and this was like my first entry into like Nolan films too. So it was just yeah, a thing that kind of blows your mind because it's just such a unique way to tell a story and with such an interesting framing device.
It's funny you say getting it on DVD because I actually remember Memento as like the movie. I think it was a teacher. Yeah, it was a teacher like of mine in high school who was talking about how excited they were about this new DVD technology because you could take a movie like Memento and watch it like in reverse or like in the actual order that it was supposed to be
Hmm.
in or whatever, or like that the story played out in. And that was my like I had never even really I knew DVDs existed, but I had never had a DVD player or watched anything on DVD at that point. It was early enough in the technology. But just hearing that, it was like, okay, I have to see this movie now because that sounded like such a wild, like how do you make a movie work in reverse? So I did rent it, but I rented it on VHS and I remember it specifically because that was the movie where like somebody was talking about the power of DVD.
One of those commercials that came on.
Right, right. Um, yeah, it's just, goes to show how old we are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
experience.
Now my kids won't even watch one of my like 600 something DVDs if they can find it on a streamer. Like we have this, if the same movie with ads on a streamer, like they would watch it with ads as opposed to like going
Wow.
through
Are
the
they aware of
process
the
of
bonus
putting it.
content?
It
Yes,
Like when they
drives
that's
set
me
up
what
the
I
screen,
crazy.
miss.
the
That's
menus
what
with
I
Drives
like
me
the
miss.
crazy.
little things to like like Easter eggs
I
and like
miss
director commentary. Like I love it. I
That's
watch
why I
that.
miss DVDs. I have an
Totally.
extensive DVD collection, but I don't know where my DVD player is anymore. I'm like, I need to buy one. I miss my commentary. I miss the
Totally.
bloopers, the deleted
Hmm.
scenes. Like, we don't get any of that anymore.
I started doing commentaries on this channel, like having like the writers come on and like watch the movie with me and like do their own commentary because they don't exist anymore. But I only did like
Nice.
I want to do them again because it was so fun. Nobody watched them, but there's like three of them, but it was so fun
It's
to
all
do
for
it.
you.
It was yeah, totally like just like this is like I just like love geeking out about the
Yeah.
craft and it's so fun to talk to people about it. So you know, I would love to kind of like hear a little bit more about like how this maybe like worked its way into your writing as you kind of moved into the professional world. Like so that happened what 2018-ish was like I think I
Yeah,
read like
well, that
yeah.
was when I first became an assistant on
Okay.
Bridger, but I got staffed, I think, 2021.
Were you writing stuff like this at that point or were you did you shift into something entirely different when you kind of decided that you wanted to pursue this as a career?
I'm sort of a rare person and that I kind of write anything. I know
Awesome.
a lot of people are very siloed in comedy versus drama, and I was told to do that when I first started writing, and I sort of just did not listen. And I write what I want to write.
I'm the
It's
same
worked
way.
out.
So I think at that point, when I first got my job on Bridgerton, I was writing a lot of comedies. I had only written one drama pilot at that time, and yeah, but in general, I would say this influenced my writing by just trying to go with the unexpected and a twist. I'm honestly just noticing this right now because of this conversation.
Yeah.
I love a twist. Like my scripts always have a twist in them, even if it's a comedy. I just love something unexpected, and it's probably stems from Memento, just not even the whole reverse chronological order of it being just something unexpected and different, but the ending,
Yeah.
I don't know if you care about spoilers. This
No,
is
well,
like
I
a
hope anybody who's
20-year-old
I
old
was like
movie.
kind
For a
of
20-year-old
dancing around it
movie.
at first, but now that I think about it, if you're watching this, hopefully you've seen the movie. And
Yes.
Yeah.
it's been
Yes.
25
Yeah.
years. So yes, go for it.
So yeah, like by the end, we've been watching Leonard try to avenge his wife. That's his whole ethos for living. And then we realize at the end that he's already avenged his wife and that he's just basically sets up these new targets for himself to continue his purpose without having a memory. It's sort of like you don't have, I would say, an ethos for living. If you're constantly in the present, you really have nothing to live for. So he's just setting up these fake targets for himself and killing people to hide to that he kills his friend Teddy, who's also kind of shady and has been using him,
Hmm.
but hasn't is not the person that killed his wife. He just creates this false narrative that Teddy killed his wife so then he can track him down and have the satisfaction. And we get that he's just going to keep doing this probably for the rest of his life. And so that was a big twist that this character that you've been sympathetic toward the whole movie is sort of the villain in the
Totally.
end.
Yeah.
And so I think I take that in my writing. Every script that I write, I try to have the ending be unique and surprising and something that you can't predict. And people have told me like, "Oh, I didn't think it was gonna go that way." And so that's
I mean,
something.
that's
That's fun.
you say even in a comedy, but it makes sense, right? Because like what a great joke is like the punchline has to be unexpected, right? Like you have to be like a step ahead of the audience. And like, you know, even like a great third act in a comedy, usually you want that too, where you're kind of like the audience has sort of a sense of like the direction the story's headed in, but you want to surprise them with how you deliver that. Like that's how
Mhm.
you get the big laughs and the big payoffs.
Exactly.
So do you have like an example of what's an example of a twist if you don't mind sharing, like one that you kind of layered into one of those early scripts, like as you were kind of
Yeah,
figuring it
I
out?
have the writing sample that actually got me staffed and got me representation is about this daughter that's trying to reconnect with her father who she's been estranged from. And we see she goes to her father's birthday party in the first scene. The father's sort of like a partying type aging rock star
Okay.
figure, and he always has like a young girlfriend. And so this young woman is at the party that she assumes to be his girlfriend. And she's like, look at it, he's still the same. I don't want to be involved in this BS. She leaves. And we see a scene, with the father and this young girl from their advantage point. And the young girlfriend really wants to meet the daughter. Like, I want to be her friend. And the
Mm.
dad's like, you don't know my daughter. Just be chill, leave her alone. But she won't leave it alone. So she kind of is like stalks the daughter in hopes of befriending her. And so she like picks up the daughter like as her Uber driver because she's been stalking her. And they're talking, and then the daughter has only seen her once at the birthday party, so she doesn't really recognize her, but she's looking, and toward her during the car ride she realizes like, oh, you're that girl my dad is dating. Are you stalking me, you weirdo? And she was like, ew, dating? That's not my boyfriend. Like, that's my dad too. I'm your half
Oh
sister.
shit.
And so she's like, what? And
What?
the girl didn't know that her dad had these other children. And
Mm.
so that's the twist. And she barges into the dad's house, and her other half sibling is there. So it's not just one, but two
Oh boy.
siblings she didn't know existed are with this dad. And
That's
he
awesome.
he reveals like, yeah, that's
So
my
is this was
daughter.
this like a was this a pilot?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like setting up this whole like crazy family
yeah,
situation where like they
yes,
had no idea that they existed, and
yes.
that's fun.
She wanted to connect with the dad, but now she's forced to connect with this entire group of people she
Surprise family.
didn't know, yeah, existed.
That's super cool. I have still never written a pilot in my life. And I think it's because I live like in Massachusetts, like so like the common wisdom for until like Zoom changed everything was like if you don't live in LA, like you're not working in TV, right? So
That's true.
and so now it's kind of shifted, but I still have never written a whole pilot. Like I've kind of played with them, but like,
Maybe like as an exercise or just a challenge. Just
yeah. So I know like I really need to at some point. Like I've started a couple of them, but kind of never really kind of stuck with them. It's always been features. So
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I mean, I've written features, but I much rather prefer to write TV.
that's cool. Well, I mean, obviously you're doing it, which is amazing. So, you chose the right thing. Have you ever had like this movie Memento pop up in your career in any interesting ways? Like just kind of like inspiring a project that you're working on, or meeting or working with people who were on that movie, or even just as like simple as kind of creating shared connections with other people that you're working with?
I'm trying to think. I mean, no, I will
just not
say,
yet, right?
yeah, not yet. I would hope, but like I've yet to meet Christopher Nolan or Jonathan Nolan. That would be great. One of the assistants on my show used to work for Jonathan Nolan, though, so I guess
That's cool.
I know him through her.
But I mean, it's
And
just it always shocks me like what a small town it winds up being, and like how like it's just though like those weird connections kind of continually seem to pop up, and it's always interesting when you connect with somebody who was involved with like something that was an early influence on you, you know?
yes, I would love to meet the Nolans one day, because yeah, this show definitely, I mean, this movie definitely inspired me to write and to realize that, I didn't have to write books, that I could write something else and be creative with my writing and try to tell stories in unexpected ways. That's my whole thing is, you know, I think too many people put too much stake on having an original idea. I do think it's very difficult. Ideas are not original. Civilization has been around thousands of years. Whatever you come up with, probably someone else already came up
Totally.
with, but it hasn't been told by you and through your point of view. I think that's really where the originality lies. And I think this movie definitely inspired me to lean into my point of view and to do things, yeah, how I see the world.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really it, right? Like, I mean, that's what makes you interesting as a writer. Which, like, so, like, speaking of your roller derby movie, Leah. So, like, I followed Leah like on Twitter before for a long time and stuff, but back when I was on there, and like, she was always posting about her roller derby stuff, and so it's super cool that she actually made a movie in that space. Just because, like, I think you do have to lean into what makes you interesting as a person and kind of makes you unique, because that's gonna that's gonna be how you stand out.
Definitely.
So this movie inspired you and in a really big way. And what's amazing is like you have unquestionably inspired other writers, whether it's like through mentorship or your writing or through your work with In the Cut. But it like really is kind of an uncertain time in the industry right now. So like to anybody who's pursuing this crazy dream, like why should they keep going in the face of everything?
Well, I mean, that's questions to me as well.
Right?
We're all feeling it. I do think that you have to realize that your art does not require permission from other people. And yeah, it may be a difficult time to get a job in the studio system, but that doesn't mean that you are not a writer, that you're not an artist. Like someone like Leah, she funded her own project. That's what you can do. Even myself, I funded my own project even while I was staffed on The Witcher. I crowdfunded to do an audio drama, a scripted podcast because I was finding it difficult to sell a show. So I always think that you don't need permission from other people to create your work. It doesn't matter what's going on in Hollywood. You can make stuff yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I and like there's so much purity in that too. Like, I still, by the way, write short stories sometimes, like going back to like that, just because like
Cool.
I think like with screenwriting, there's always this element of like even before I had broken in of like that's like the thing that I'm trying to do professionally and like that hopefully will be my career one day and like now it is like how I'm trying to put food on the table and like with short stories it's like I know I'm never going to make a dime from that, right? Like in the purity of just like creating something like for the sake of it, like is so great. And like I think, I never actually got to make like a micro budget movie, but like if I could go back in time, I would 100% have leaned into doing that because I think like the purity in that and also like the experience gained from that it just is so cool and so important. And I'm so jealous of like everybody I know who's had that experience.
You can do
I
it now.
should, and I'm
Sign your
trying to
prop
figure
next
out how to
year.
do something like that at this point. Like kind
Yeah.
of not quite micro, but like definitely like low budget and kind of make it in this area, just because it'd be a really fun
And you
experience.
can translate it to, selling a major movie. I was listening to the Hollywood Hang podcast,
Mhm.
which is great if people haven't listened to it, but they had Roy Lee, who I think produced like Saw and weapons and all these
Totally. Yeah.
amazing movies we know. But he was saying how he like finds filmmakers on TikTok and on YouTube. And I've seen in the trades like all these YouTube filmmakers are getting major studio deals. So it's like I do think we're in a new era where either fortunately or unfortunately, however you look upon it, that you have to be sort of entrepreneurial and get your stuff out there. Unfortunate people might see it because you have to raise capital by yourself as writers. That's not something we're used to. But I think of it as fortunate as well because that gives you ownership over your IP and leverage, and you're not just automatically selling your ideas to a studio. If your idea is successful, you own that IP so that when you sell it, you're going to get a way larger amount of the profits than if you had just sold your script. So I think being creative and flexible, it's a great time to be in this industry, honestly.
And it's fun. It's really fun to get a bunch of your friends together and shoot a movie. Like it's
Yeah.
the
That
hardest thing you'll ever do. Uh, you might go a little
that's
insane
legitimately part
after
of
like
the
14 hours, but like it's also really, really fun.
that's part of what makes me jealous of it. It just seems like it would be such a great time to
Yeah,
just kind of be in the grind of it
there's a
together
reason
with
why
your
there's lots of
friends.
blooper reels.
Right, yeah, I'm sure. So how long was your shoot for that?
8 days.
That's amazing that you got
We
that done in
shot
8 days.
the full movie and two music videos in 8 days
Wow.
for $20,000.
That's
Unreal.
amazing.
And now I actually just placed our first order for a bunch of prosthetics. We're going to try to shoot another movie next year. We got a
Heck
small
yeah.
grant for one of the scripts I wrote. So my friend Dale is like, "Yeah, I got equipment. Let's do this."
I was gonna
Cool.
ask, I was
Hey,
gonna,
yeah. I mean, if you're just crazy enough to do things, it's amazing how many other crazy people are like, "Yeah, the world's on fire. Let's go make a movie. It'll probably get us chased out of the state with
Exactly.
pitchforks."
I love it. I was
Living the dream.
actually, I was going to ask you both at, at the end of this to, if there was anything that you wanted to promote or talk about. So since we're talking about it right now, what's the movie going to be?
It's actually the script that was on your one page.
Oh,
Uh,
Germination?
Yeah, it won
Awesome.
a Athena Film Festival grant. So we have like a little startup fund, which is unusual. We're just like not calling all our parents and asking for money. But yeah, I think we've got a bunch of locations lined up. Just need to
That
get some
is
casting.
so cool. All
Yeah,
right.
it's actually happening very fast. I'm surprised how many people want to help out. So I'm a little freaking out, but like I'm all in. Why not?
That's incredible.
Where can I watch your Derby movie? Is it
We
online
don't have any
somewhere?
distribution. I'll be
Oh,
happy to
okay.
send you a screener link. And that's been the
Yeah.
big challenge. We shot in 8 days. I mean, we did a Kickstarter after we got it all shot, paid for post and music, color correction, did a festival run, and it's just been, you
Have you
know,
heard of Kinema?
I looked into it. I don't know if I'm quite the right fit. The
Okay.
challenge we've had is like there's Kinema, and then there's like going straight to like Tubi or like pay
Yeah,
for play
that's true.
distribution, and like we just don't have the budget to pay someone to go pimp our movie out on distribution. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
But we try.
Yes, I would love to watch it. Please
Yeah,
send it to me.
I'll send it your way.
Yeah, I'll connect you both after this. I actually haven't seen it either, so I would
Well,
love to
I'll
be
send you
in
guys
on
both the
the
screener
screener
link.
link if I could be, please. But yeah, I mean, but I can attest Leah's a great writer, so I'm sure it's a lot of fun. Um, cool. Well, so Ray, kind of, I guess, same question. Like, what do you have coming up? Like, what are you working on right now? What do people need to see from you?
Yeah, I would love if people check out my podcast, In the Cut podcast, as you mentioned. So I invite professional writers on every episode and we break down their favorite episodes of TV. So my guest always chooses the episode. This season, we talked about Sex in the City, Andor. What else? Atlanta, some great shows. We have a few more episodes coming up. We're going to talk about The Bear still, Mo. So, and then we have episodes from the last season. So that's what I've been working on this year. And, it's been fun, challenging. It's hard work making a podcast. So,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
But
yeah,
it's fun doing stuff like that though. I mean I really like the whole YouTube thing. It has just been a
yeah.
hobby for me, but I really do enjoy it. It's a fun way to kind of find a unique ways to just talk about the craft and learn new things, which I really really enjoy. But I really do recommend that people go check out your podcast. I have enjoyed listening to it very much. So check out In the Cut. And where can people find both of you on like social media or whatever?
Leah, you want to go?
I am everywhere as Leah from South Dakota. So if you just Google that, you'll find me. It sounds stupid, but it's true. There's less than a million of us. There's not many other Leahs from South Dakota.
Oh.
But I'm out on Blue Sky and LinkedIn, so you can find me.
That's cute. Yeah, you can find me in the cut. So, if you go on YouTube, it's at in the cut LA. You can watch the podcast, but on Instagram also at in the cut LA, TikTok at in the cut LA one, or my website inthecutla.org.
Cool. If you want to see more from one scene, You should definitely hit those like, subscribe, and hype buttons. But even better, you can become a part of this community by commenting below with your own thoughts and takeaways. And if you're interested in being part of a future episode, head on over to my website where you can find out more details. The link's in the description below, and if it's still active, that means I plan to make more of these. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next one.